Hi, David McLeod here. Thank you for joining me for today's presentation. As a human being, you probably have lots of beliefs, right? I think it's safe to say that we all do. And many of those beliefs actually serve us really well. For example, if you walk to the edge of a cliff and then step off, there's a pretty high probability that you will plummet to a rather messy death on the rocks below. So your belief in the power of gravity keeps you from taking that one fateful step. But one thing I've noticed as part of my journey home to myself is that every belief is a limiting belief. Now, you might not agree with me on this right away, but just stick with me for a moment. I'll say it again. Every belief is a limiting belief. Now think about that for a second. Suppose you believe something. Let's just call it the X belief for now. You might find yourself saying sometimes, I believe in X, or I believe X. Now, the power of belief is pretty strong, and in fact, I think the ego mind actually loves beliefs because they are things that the ego mind can latch onto. Beliefs help the ego mind to stay grounded in this physical reality. But here's the problem. When you believe in X, then you are, in a way, declaring that anything that is not X can't possibly be. You're essentially excluding something that doesn't fit your belief system. Consequently, when you believe in X, then you tend to look for evidence in your experience that supports that belief. This is a common problem in scientific research. It's called confirmation bias. It's where the scientist fails to examine data that doesn't fit her or his belief system, i.e. that doesn't confirm what he or she has already accepted as true. Now, whether a belief is positive or negative, affirming or disempowering doesn't really matter. It's still a limiting belief, simply because it tends to exclude things that don't fit within the belief system. Well, so what, you might be asking? Maybe limiting beliefs are a good thing. Well, my point here is not to make it right or wrong, but rather just to bring awareness to it. In my life, I found that by lovingly releasing my beliefs, I make myself more open to what the universe has available for me. For me personally, this is particularly true with deeply ingrained, disempowering beliefs that I have about myself. The most powerful of these is the belief I've told you about before, that I'm not good enough. Well, this belief shows up in so many different ways, and because it's so deeply ingrained within me, I unconsciously look for evidence to support that belief. However, because I'm aware of this pattern in my life now, I am able to recognize this limiting belief for what it really is and to transform my thinking into something that's more affirming. What I do now to release a disempowering belief that comes into my awareness, it's pretty simple, and it's just a 4-step process. 1, I say out loud to myself, that's an interesting point of view. This seems to short-circuit the tape loop that's running in my head. It's like I'm making a decision without choosing sides, and my ego mind seems to quiet down pretty quickly. Number 2, when the chatter diminishes, then I simply ask myself, how can I transform this point of view into something that serves me, that empowers me? This puts the universe on notice that I am interested in an answer that will help me move forward, and the universe is only too happy to provide me with all kinds of ideas. Number 3, I forgive myself for having had the disempowering belief in the first place. I acknowledge that there might have been a time in my life when having that belief actually kept me safe, but that I'm now an adult and I no longer need to buy into it. It's like I'm speaking to my inner child and reassuring him that I love him unconditionally and that I'm now capable of taking good care of him. And number 4, in my mind, I see the old belief as a kind of a soap bubble, and I imagine beams of love coming from my heart, inflating that bubble and transforming it into a beautiful rainbow-colored ball that just floats off toward the rising sun. And to me, this is a beautiful way of releasing something so that it doesn't have a negative impact on someone else. Here's my invitation to you for this week. Just notice your beliefs as they show up in your awareness. For each one you become aware of, check in with yourself and see if it's a belief that you want to keep or if it's something that you'd rather release. If you choose to release it, try this 4-step process I just described and notice how your life begins to change. Have a wonderful week, and may all your beliefs support you in your continuing journey.